So the good news is, for you guys, is that wealth is a choice. If, and this is a big if you have some basic building blocks and have or can develop the right mindset. So I'm going to repeat that one more time, all right? Wealth is a choice if you have some basic building blocks and if you have or can develop the right mindset. So let's talk about the foundational blocks. These are the things that you got to have them. Unfortunately, if you don't, it's going to be a really tough road. First one, you got to be smart. And when I say smart, I don't mean you have to be like a genius or anything like that. You don't have to be like the smartest or in your class, have great grades. I just mean you have to grasp the concepts of the things that I'm teaching you today in this class and in the classes to come. I'm talking about the people who are going to struggle with this are people with, learning disabilities or something like that. So short of having a learning disability, if you're just your average amount of intelligence and you can grasp what I'm talking to you about today, you're going to be fine. You can do it. So that's one foundational block I think you need to have. The other one is you need to be able to find your way towards opportunity. So you guys have plenty of opportunity living in the place that you do, in the community that you have, and with the education that you have. But let's say you're born into some third world country or totalitarian dictatorship somewhere where they limit the ability for people to proceed with any kind of entrepreneurial spirit. If that happens, well then shoot, maybe those people are cut off from possibilities. And you can certainly have, even here in America, places and times where it's, if you stayed in the little town where you're born or wherever you're living, that's where there's not a lot of opportunity, you might need to leave that area in order to find that opportunity. But as long as you can find your way towards opportunity and you have a certain level of intelligence, then you can do it. Missing those, one of those two would make it very difficult or even impossible to succeed. So that's the foundational blocks. But let's talk really quickly, since we're talking about that, about life advantages, because I do want to make a quick note, a little side note on advantages. Do they play a role? Of course they do. Personally, I was born to parents who cultivated a really strong education and involvement in, heavy involvement in youth organizations that really allowed me to foster useful job skills that I use later on. But does this mean that someone who's less advantaged, who doesn't have those things or those things given to them, does that mean they can't obtain wealth? No, but it is harder. The more disadvantages you have, the harder it is. I also had those, different disadvantages. Like, as I mentioned, I had no financial education, and I frequently, not all the time, but frequently was living just north of poverty. However, I will say this about that, is that sometimes these disadvantages can actually even fuel your desire to succeed that much more. The occasional brush up against poverty, witnessing financial struggles can actually be a really big motivator. You can be like, well, shoot, I don't want to ever end up in a place where I don't have enough money to pay for the rent or pay for food or things like that. And that can be a real driver for you. And I'm sure you've probably heard from successful people, maybe on YouTube videos or inspirational, whatever, that sometimes their biggest inspiration was being told that they can't do something, or being told that they can't be a certain kind of somebody. And when that happens, that's, it's frequently like just the boost that they need to be like, oh, really? You tell me I can't do this? Well, now I'm going to do it to prove you wrong. One example that comes to mind, I didn't really encounter that much in my life, but I did at one point when pregnant with the oldest child. I was right in the middle of getting through college, and both grandparents said, you're not going to finish college. You're not going to. And now that you got a kid along the way, it's too much work, too much. You're going to end up working, and all this time, the 2 years you put in your college education are going to be a waste. And I was kind of indignant, like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm going to finish. And I believe I would have anyway, but it gave me that much more fire to be like, I'm going to prove you wrong, that I'm absolutely going to finish college, and I did. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. So I'm talking about, yes, wealth is attainable. You guys can do it if you have the right mindset. So let's talk.